Hi.
Right. Did we have given a party and no one came?
Fine, 2 minutes.
2 minutes. It is 2 minutes. Thank you. Thank you, Bennett.
How was the trip?
It was terrific. Enjoyed it a lot. Got COVID.
Oh, no.
I'm back, so my voice sounds a little rough and
Oh, God.
hope we don't, hope we don't get any really tough questions. That's all.
Did you get it on the trip or when you got back?
Don't really know. I mean, I started having a very rough throat about 3 days ago, but then we got home last night, and then my wife said this morning she got up early and was feeling not that well and tested herself and was positive. So I'm sure I'm the typhoid Mary. I'm sure of that. But fortunately, we had all these boosters and stuff, so it's not like not like it was 2 years ago. Oh, sure.
I get fixed up to be on the Zoom.
Right, I know.
I couldn't sleep.
Okay, I
I
think
think our next meeting we should have on the town green and serve pizza and beer. Maybe we get some attendees.
I am sure you will. And actually, I think that sounds like a good idea, period. So we're getting people, let's see, I guess the rest of our committee only is coming on. Hi, Heather. Hi, Molly.
Hi.
How you doing? Hi,
Good.
Aaron. Aaron is hiding behind her name here. Okay, do we want to adopt Jane's suggestion then? The next one be on the green with pizza and beer?
I'm all for it.
Okay. It's adopted unanimously.
Hey there.
Hey, Jen.
I attended a great meeting this afternoon in Guilford, their Affordable Housing Committee. Invited the Wallingford builder whose property we toured in the fall. And he's spent his whole life building private housing. And in this last phase of his professional career, he's devoted himself to affordable housing. He's a member of the Wallingford Affordable Housing Committee, and he's some official in the State Association of Builders. So he's proselytizing among his colleagues. He does only friendly 830Gs, small scale, and does it without any subsidy from, no tax credits
Right.
or state money. He does it just strictly on negotiating the density with the town.
The
Is that
right
the
way.
same guy that's come to a couple of our meetings?
I'm sorry?
Is that the same man that's come to a couple of our meetings?
No, but that, he was there too, no.
Oh,
he's
okay,
an-
because he's
an-
from Wallingford, right? And
Yeah,
he works
exactly.
at the
Yes.
state.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's on the Affordable Housing Committee and he's working as an intern.
Yeah,
He's a late life student at Southern Connecticut, and his major is in something related to community.
Engagement, I think it is, isn't it?
I'm sorry?
Engagement, I think he said.
Yes, yeah.
community
And
engagement.
he's assigned for his internship to work with Ben Fink. So that's why
Oh,
he's going to all the meetings in the whole Scrog. Yeah. Anyway, when we met with Penrose, when Jen and Peggy met with Penrose, they said they were interested in also meeting with a developer that did smaller scale projects and not predominantly all affordable. And this guy totally fits that. And the video that was circulated from the trip will show you one of his developments. I think it's like a 28 or 30 unit development that he did. Anyway, he's happy to come meet, so we should talk about a
Should have
time.
him come, yeah.
Yeah, I think
Bennett, what's small? What is considered smaller, like the 20 unit
that's
development?
the biggest he's done. Yeah, he's done a 10. He's got a 13 pending, and that 30 was his biggest.
But all affordable, not three
No,
out of
No,
10.
830G, so only 30% affordable.
30% affordable, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And he's very keen on building what's appropriate for the location in town.
mhm.
So this 13 unit he's got pending, he's doing as individual homes rather than as townhouses or duplexes, because it's in a neighborhood of single family homes. Even though he could get a whole lot more density out of 3.5 acres. He's got an alternate plan for 40 or 50 units, but he doesn't want to use it. He wants to get approved for the 13. So interesting guy, really quite interesting.
Well, we should obviously have some conversation with him for sure. Although, I mean, I would like to see more things like we have down in Cottage Road, the Wellington, where we actually are putting in a real affordable housing, because the arithmetic with building 10 houses and 3 of them being affordable kind of leaves us behind the 8 ball.
Yeah. I mean, I think Peggy asked a lot of questions of Penrose about the fact that they were so heavily weighted on the affordable side.
Mhm.
That creates a different kind of environment rather than the broader, diversity throughout the community. You have it sort of localized.
Right.
So this was just an alternative model. I don't know that he, wouldn't do something different if the town wanted it, but
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we'll, I think it's worth collecting information from every source and
yeah,
for sure.
yeah. He's he's almost too good to be true. I mean, he's pretty open about it. He made his money doing the conventional thing.
Mm-hmm.
He never made McMansions, but he was building in 3,000 square foot, $750,000 range, and made his money, and he figured he's got enough, and so do something useful. And he loves to build, so.
Good for him. Aaron, you're in control here. I assume there's no one in the waiting room or anything?
So that's what I was gonna, if you wanted to get started, you do have 4 attendees who have logged into the meeting, and I'm happy to hit record so that you can have this and share this on the website as. finish
Okay,
up.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Did you want to give a little introduction or just
well,
walk right
I'll
up
say a
for
word.
public comment? How did you?
Are they
Yeah,
coming on here or no?
I
Is
think
that-
this is public comment day, so I think we'll give them a little, explain the rules and then let people ask the questions. If no one's asking any questions, we may have some of them in terms of, trying to elicit their opinions if they won't feel comfortable, stepping up and saying something.
Mark, how about you give a little bit of an introduction, just in case we have any new folks as participants, to let them know just kind of what it is that the group is working on and what it is that this session is really for.
We'll follow that, Jen. Thank you.
Mark, did I misunderstand? Are you waiting for me to tell you if anyone has their hands raised?
I don't see anybody at all on the screen. I'm sure we have anybody. I can't tell if we have anybody. This
You
all we
mean
have-
for, okay, so, yep, so we have, I can invite everybody over as panelists if you wanted to make it like an open discussion. If you didn't have a presentation, or we could just request from the public if anybody wanted to raise their hands. And open into
Well,
dialogue.
I asked the committee, but I think maybe invite them in as
Yeah.
members and let us
Yeah.
see what they are. We only have
Yeah.
4 people. If we had 50 people, that might be more of a problem,
Sure.
but
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good idea because then we can see each other.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've been
absolutely.
waiting for their faces to pop up.
yeah, I'm sorry, Aaron, I should have said, yes, I think let's have them
Okay,
pop up.
excellent. So we have Alex, Fran, and John, and what I'll do is I'll just give you the opportunity if you'd like to join as a panelist. Hit yes. If you'd like to remain just in attendance and observe, you're welcome to. You can just decline. But I'll at least open that up to you as an option to join the conversation. Okay, so we'll just give them a minute.
Okay,
Okay, so John will be rejoining and to open up for conversation. And then from there, you can, if you wanted to share
Well,
some
let me
of what you've
just-
been up to.
so just
That's
so I
fine as well.
understand, technology, so everyone can hear us speak, it just that they're not going to be members of the, they will not be part of the participant, as John Dixon is.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
So everybody, so this is live streaming on YouTube and we're recording. So if there's any presentation, if you wanted to go through your slideshow or just
No, I-
generally what you've been up to, you're welcome to do that. And then the attendees also have the option to raise their hands at any point
And you will-
to ask questions, and we can give them the opportunity.
And you will
speak.
recognize the
And
raised,
John is here as well.
and you'll recognize the raised hand. Aaron, right? Hi,
Yes.
John.
I'll let you know.
Okay. I think John, you've attended some of our meetings before, have you not?
Yes,
Yeah, I thought.
yeah, yeah,
Nice.
yeah. I'm not at all familiar with, it seems like the committee's been working on the issues for some time.
Well, let me
And
give you a little background. Basically, the committee is a result of a study done by the town that was completed in 22. And part of that was a commitment by the town to increase the variety of housing in the amount of affordable housing in Madison, because we are facing what really is a crisis where the prices of the ability to find a place to live in Madison is increasingly difficult as the prices continue to rise, and the variety of options that people have in the town are diminishing. So the town took the commitment. The Board of Selectmen unanimously accepted the recommendations of the committee that worked on this, that completed their work in 22. And part of that, and an important part of that, was to create the Citizens Committee on Affordable Housing. And that's what we are. There's 7 of us on the committee. If you can see them, they're all on the screen. The only one that's not here is doing having some surgery done tonight, so not able to attend. But the rest of us are here, and the issue is really to respond to your questions about what it is that we're trying to accomplish. There are certain things that we know that we're not trying to accomplish, and that is to fundamentally change the character of Madison. We all live here. We all like what we live here with, but we also recognize the need that there has to be some changes that we manage, because the town is changing without our management right. And one of our key roles, I believe, is to help the town manage that. But we can do that only if we have the support and the ability to communicate with the town, with the residents of the town, and encourage them to support us in what we're doing, or to criticize us if they think we're going in the wrong direction. So it's not this is not imposing something from above by any means, either from the standpoint of the town itself or from our affordable housing committee. We, on the committee, believe that it is important that when Madison is addressing these issues, that they do with as much community input as possible. And we have committed now to having one of these meetings like this, either on Zoom or in person, on the weekend, on weeknight, weekday, over the next several months, to give people an opportunity to hear more about what we're doing, and then also to be able to communicate their feelings about what we're doing and what they think should be done. So that's for you, and for the other several people that are not showing up on the screen here. I'd like to ask you, I mean, what is it, the reason that you're attending these meetings? Are you just trying to learn more about what we're doing, or do you have some concerns that we should be thinking about and addressing?
I'm interested in affordable housing, and so it's more a general interest, and trying to find out what the thought process is that the committee is into, and if there are any general notions of what direction you think you need to go in order to accomplish something significant.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how long has the committee been together?
We were formed officially at the end of 22, and we've been working for the past year. We're in our second year of our appointment, if you will. It's a 2-year appointment. We are still an ad hoc committee. We are not a regular commission in the town as yet. The Board of Selectmen has not gotten to the point of making us into a regular commission. But our function is not to legislate anything. Our function is to form the boards, the finance committee, the finance board, the Board of Selectmen, zoning laws and such, about what we've learned and what can be done in the town to facilitate the idea of making it Madison a little bit more affordable. There's some issues. One of them is state law, which requires each town to have at least 10% of their housing built according to a income restricted housing, if you will. So one of the things that we focus on is this thing called 830G, which is this law. We have in town right now only under 2% of our housing is considered to be deed restricted affordable, and that's mostly Concord Meadows housing, and that's 90% of the affordable housing that we have in town. We also are looking at affordable. We're looking at affordable from that standpoint for sure, and that we need to build more or make available more of deed restricted housing so that people making less than 80% of the area median income would. I'm not going to get this exactly right, but I think it's $111,000, $113,000. If you make less than 80% of that, you become eligible for some kind of affordable housing under these deed restrictions. There is some of it that exists in town, and the largest new units are being built on Cottage Road in the east end of town. I'm sorry. No, it's east end of town. And I believe there's like 20, Aaron, help me, 23 units that will be affordable. You're muted.
Sorry, I did that on purpose. Yes, 27 units.
27 units are being built right now, and it could be finished in this year and occupied, I expect, before 24. The other part of it is making affordable, is looking at things that are not necessarily deed restricted, but are difficult to construct in town. One of them is to build what they call granny flats, to build additional housing on an existing property, either as a separate building or as an addition to the building. That is on the books right now as something that can be done, but it's not facilitated. Excuse me, I think I'm going to have a problem speaking the more I talk, because hang on for a second. I have picked up a little COVID on the way, so I'm getting a little rough in the throat.
Oh, well, I've just been through COVID. So.
Oh, well, okay. Well, I'm glad I've joined you then. It looks
Yeah.
So a good thing we're doing this over Zoom. And these additional units, we would think that could be facilitated more easily by the town than it is right now. And there's also the idea of creating, duplex units. Making two houses attached, which is a lot cheaper to build. So while I cough, will someone like to pick up where I am in this one? Bennett?
Yeah. Hi, John. Good to see you again. I think, as Mark was saying, the plan that the prior committee did in 22, approved by the selectmen and submitted to the state of Connecticut as required by law, really does lay out a variety of things that the town is committed to working on. And while our charge is specifically the focus on affordable housing, I think all of the town boards that are impacted or have a role to play here acknowledge that it's broader than just a problem of affordability. It's a problem of diversity of housing types that are appropriate and affordable for all residents. And so we've heard an awful lot from seniors who are desirous of more options for continuing to live in town, being able to downsize from the family home, which is no longer appropriate for their living situation. But there's really a dearth of opportunities for them, right? Especially, being able to find affordable accommodations that are appropriate for their condition in life. Typically, that means more physically accessible, one level units without stairs, that sort of thing. But we have the same kind of lack of opportunities for new families to come to town. Median home price, and one of our members, Jane, is a realtor. She can correct me, but I think the median home price in Madison now is around $650,000. That's hardly a starter home for a new family, right? And so at sort of either end of the age scale, we've got folks who just don't have good options. And so the plan is designed to try to address all of them, and in the process create more opportunities for folks who are not low income by statute. The statute really focuses on people who are pretty median income, right? These are generally working families. 80% of the median for a family of four in Madison is around $90,000. It's not low income. The rent that that family would pay for a two-bedroom unit would be around $2,200 or $2,300 a month. Again, that's not low income kind of housing. So I think that it's important to keep the affordable housing focus, but do it in the broader context of anything we do here to create more housing and more diverse types of housing is going to help solve the affordability problem.
No, but what approximate? What's the approximate number of or percentage of affordable housing now?
Well, under the state formula, less than 2% of our housing is deemed affordable. And that's a technical definition that reflects not only the price of the housing, but also whether it is what's called deed restricted, that is legally bound to remain affordable for a period of 40 years. That's what the state looks at when it counts and calculates the town's percentage of affordable housing. So we're under 2%, even with this new development coming online with the Wellington, we're going to be under 2%.
Well under 2%.
10% is probably not an achievable number for a town like Madison or Guilford, these shoreline towns with very little infrastructure. But we could certainly do a lot better than we are right now. And I think that's our goal, is we're looking at concrete steps that we can take. It's going to be incremental, right? There's no magic bullet here that's going to solve this housing crisis. But there are a number of things we can do that over time will start to make a big difference. Yeah.
Well,
Francine, you want to add anything to this?
No, that's okay. I think John was going to say something. Go.
Oh, okay, John.
Let's see. Now I forgot. Well, one thought that I have, probably, it's one of the assumptions you're working under, is that there are a lot of seniors who could use housing that's more appropriate for seniors, and at various there are, as I understand it, there's one or two housing areas that are restricted to seniors, or am I wrong about that?
Concord Meadows is the one that's restricted to seniors. It's seniors and people who have disabilities.
What's that called again?
Concord Meadows.
Oh, Concord Meadows, yeah.
Okay.
But it seems like a thought I've been having is that there are a lot of seniors that feel that they have homes that they can't leave because there's nothing appropriate that they can get, and that you'd open up more housing that is affordable by providing places that are more appropriate for seniors.
Agreed. Yeah, exactly. And there's, as Bennett was saying, there's a variety of choices that, I mean, there's things that we can work on that include deed restricted programs, but also those that are not necessarily, but making it possible for more people to have some choices. And right now, most of the housing in Madison is single family on large lots, which makes it, if you want to downsize and perhaps have a more appropriate, maybe bedrooms on the first floor kind of situation, there are just not that many options.
Yeah, and when you have housing that's restricted to seniors, then that helps with the affordability also, because then seniors don't have to compete in housing that's restricted. then seniors don't have to compete with everybody else. And so it makes it more affordable for seniors.
Yes.
Generally, when you have that.
We want to give seniors more options, and we want to make it possible for younger people to join the community. We're an aging community right now. I mean, this is what's happening right now is that the median age of the population is increasing. And,
right.
And that means that issues like how much are we willing to spend to support the schools when we don't have children in schools? I mean, those are issues that will go further as we look into this thing further. It's going to be the ability of the town to actually bring in younger people, younger families, getting them engaged in the community, volunteering for the fire department, for example, and also the idea of being able to give people who are employed in the town, the police, the fire, the schools, the teachers, maybe giving them an opportunity to move closer to their work rather than where there is right now, which is a lot of the teachers have long commutes to come to work.
No, to what extent? Okay, in building new affordable housing, I guess there's some ways that the housing can be preserved as affordable, but to what extent is the unaffordability just the competition price-wise in the town? It's hard to, generally speaking, with open housing, if you have a town that a lot of people want to live in, the prices are going to go up.
Yes.
And so how do you deal with that? How does the state's regulation deal with that?
The state doesn't, but Jane, do you want to comment on this?
Well, it's a broad topic, and you make some very good points. So you're talking to people who are on the Affordable Housing Committee here, but we are only one piece of a broad puzzle that the selectmen are looking at. And I do want to mention that on our committee are not only people who are volunteers, people who work for the town that are very involved in the senior center, social services, and as you know, the director of our P&Z. So kind of we're all working together to create a situation where there is more diverse housing overall. So what was mentioned earlier was accessory dwelling units as an example of that. So the town is looking into our zoning laws. Eventually things will be enhanced to help some of that situation, but it's not just the houses are all expensive. It's how do we create a diverse menu of housing to sort of satiate some of the desire for people to live here, and also how do we take care of people who excuse me, need something that is more affordable. So it's sort of a collective effort right now. And what we're hoping to do is to get more feedback from people like yourself, and also people who are in working families, and people who would like to move here to sort of, reflect back, the market conditions and how we can sort of help fill some of that gap. So this is all a very good conversation, and your feedback is really important to us.
Yeah, I don't want to dominate. I thought that there were a few other people that.
There are some others.
Thank you for that, John.
Fran Brady had their hand up, but I don't know what happened to that. Are they still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm still here. I'm still here. I just don't like seeing my hand by my head.
Oh, why not?
I don't know.
What do you think, Fran?
Do you have a question, or would you like to say something?
Well, first of all, yeah, just to support what John has been saying, and basically say that, again, this is not what I expected. I was expected to listen to a public hearing and learn more about what you guys have been able to accomplish and what your needs are. So I'm not sure if I'm going to add much more to the conversation, other than I would like to reiterate that the importance of what your work is doing. And thank you, by the way. Thank you so much for giving up your time and focusing on this very important issue. Many of us are so lucky to be in the position that we are. And the more we can do to be a more receptive and open community, the better. So I'm glad what you guys are doing. So I guess I just throw it out there. Is there anything in the broadest possible sense that we, the general public, can do for you to help you in trying to accomplish what you're trying to, accomplish what you're trying to do? In general, I know you probably just want to hear our feedback, but I really don't have much more to say then. But yeah, God damn it, do it. So is there anything else we could do?
Thank you, Fran. Well, one thing you can do, I'll tell you, just, continue to talk to people. That when you talk to people, talk about the affordable housing issues. I mean, these are real issues that need to be dealt with. And we don't, as I said in the preliminary conversation, is that we need to be sure that we're not moving too far ahead of the community. We also want to be able to lead the community. We want to be able to lead that conversation as much as we possibly can. But seriously, just talking to people, talking about the issues of affordability. One of the things the headline we had on one of our earlier conversations like this was that Madison is changing, and it is changing. It's not like if we do nothing, everything will stay the same. No, if we do nothing, things will continue to change, and probably to a degree that we are not going to be happy with in the future. So we're sort of like working in the middle of that process right now.
So I just want to add to that, Mark. The public should look at us as being in our research phase. We are researching, we are talking to as many people involved in affordable housing as possible, and we are searching for the most appropriate solution that will work here in Madison. And as part of that, we need as much input from the community as possible. So we didn't want to just go into an office and do all this research and come back a couple of years later and say, oh, this is what we think. And, oops, we didn't talk to the public. We want the public. It's an integral part of our research, and to get as much information as possible. And the more you guys talk about it, the more you're going to come up with different ideas to add to the data that we're putting together.
I'm wondering how much is not in my backyard a problem for you, and what is your thoughts about how to overcome that?
Well, people will want to know more about what it is affordable housing actually is. And I think when we present models as to what it can actually be, the not in my backyard is really going to kind of fade away, because it's not going to be offensive. It's going to be beautifully done. Like, this is Madison. We will make sure to try to maintain that natural beauty that is here, and going about it the right way, and working with certified, experienced developers and who are also teaching us about the whole affordable housing process. So I think once people understand what it is, the examples of what it is, and they understand that it really benefits the community and it will benefit them, I don't think it will be an issue.
I would say, Fran, that it is an issue.
Yeah.
Not in my backyard is very much a response that this committee has heard. And it's why, I think Jane was reaching out and Mark and saying, hey, tell your friends and neighbors that it's something we need. 30% roughly of this town is considered housing burdened. And yet there's a strong not in my backyard component. And that goes for, I think, John, you brought up, well, how do you create affordable housing if there's all this demand and pricing pressure, et cetera, right? And the way you ultimately create more housing and that's more affordable is you have to put more units in a denser location. And that could be apartment buildings, that can be ADUs, that can be townhome developments. But, these are, as Jane said, done really nicely, and they're beautiful, and they're not what people think of when they hear affordable housing, which is Section 8 housing in a city. But ultimately, we have to, as a town, get more comfortable with a level of density that is not a single family home on a 1-acre lot in order to create affordable units and variety in this town for people to have.
It's building up the conversation. I mean, if you ask the person walking in the street, how many affordable housing units are in town? I think most people would say there aren't any. Deed restricted affordable housing, as we were talking about before, because the Concord Meadows is most of it, and that's in the kind of is isolated on the sort of the west end of town. And then there are other affordable units sprinkled around town, but not in any kind of density. And as Eric was saying, we're not looking at building 12-story high New York City Housing Authority kind of facilities. These are mostly going to be ones that fit, or maybe all of them will be ones that fit into the landscape without actually really attracting any attention at all. And the people that are moving into these facilities, as Bennett mentioned, are people that are really middle-class individuals with families and who work in the area and in fact may work in town but have not been able to find the opportunity to actually own some property in town or even rent some property in town. So that's where it's a lot of it's not ignorance on the people. It's really a fact that the information has never really been. This has not been a subject. People haven't talked about it, and so there's a lot of misinformation that people have, and that's where you get the NIMBY thing. I think is like, oh my God, I don't want this to happen in my town. Well, what are you talking about? Well, it's really not what you think it is. And we have actually examples of the housing that has been built around the state that, as far as anybody walking down the street would say, doesn't see it any distinguished from. It's not distinguished from market rate housing, and that's one of the requirements. Is that when you are building an affordable units in a facility, you cannot use inferior materials, and you can't furnish them in an inferior way. They have to be treated exactly the same way as the market rate, but they are affordable.
Yeah, Fran, I really appreciate your offer of help, and I think what you've heard from my colleagues here is the main thing is to help broaden the dialogue and to share the information with folks who, for the most part, really don't have a good understanding and have justifiable fear that affordable housing is some horrible thing that's going to drive down their property values. And, it's incumbent on us to find ways to show people what affordable housing looks like today. We don't have a lot of it here, but we have some, like the Wellington is going to be an excellent example for people to see. But neighboring communities are a bit ahead of us, and there are things there that we can show people. We've talked to a fair number of developers, and in this climate, it's sort of paradoxical. In this high interest climate, they're much more amenable to working collaboratively with towns to come up with viable, affordable housing plans, because they can make money if they get the density, and that gives them the cash they need to have the subsidized units, right? So if they do a small development, say of 12 units, townhouses, right? Maybe it's two townhouses or 3 townhouses for a total of 12 units, and 30% of those are affordable, right? The density that they got that allowed them to put 12 units on that parcel, which otherwise would have had maybe a single family home, enables them to charge the affordable rates to the 3 units that are deeded affordable. And we're seeing this over and over again. I spent the afternoon with a developer from Wallingford who's doing nothing but affordable housing and doing it without any federal or state subsidy, just by virtue of negotiating density with the town. So that's something we're going to have to face. I think there's a just instinctive fear of what that means. And it's, as Mark said, it's unfounded. The reality is that it's perfectly, can be perfectly in tune with the neighborhood.
Fran has his hand up.
Yeah, Fran and Alex Province as well.
Okay.
Alex, I just need one quick question for them, and then I'll turn it over to you. I was just wondering if you had like a summary sheet or a flyer or one-page talking points. I'm about to meet 147 people on Saturday when I give out some trees. I'd be glad to share what, if you have anything like that, with these people, and maybe that points them to.
We actually do. We have a FAQ on the website.
You can print that out. Actually, I did just the other day.
Yeah.
They just updated actually with all the new 2024 income. And there's some extra questions there that I put that, and Rita was helpful in putting them in a box. It's easy to read. So that would be something you could look at, Alex. If you go to our website on the FAQs, if you open it up, they'll print out.
It's Fran.
Oh, I'm sorry, Fran said that.
That sounds great. Thank you.
Also, we are starting to publish a newsletter.
Yeah, there's that too. There's 2 of them now.
Second edition is just been published, and we're trying to use that as a way also of communicating kind of like what we're doing and the progress that we're doing. Alex Province. Alex, you have a question?
Hi there. How's everyone tonight? Thank you for doing this. Hope you feel better with your COVID, by the way.
Thank you very much.
For sake of a balanced conversation, I hadn't intended to chime in, but I am. I think it gets a little confusing when we talk about Madison's affordability and that number 2%. Remember that that's a deed restricted for 40 years, 2%.
Right.
If you go into Zillow right now and you look at what's for sale, there are houses that by every other place in America are dirt cheap. Just a quick, we're looking at stuff in San Francisco that goes. There are other markets in Scottsdale and that we're quite familiar with that are much more expensive than Connecticut. One of the reasons why when New York Times published that article on Madison during COVID, that we had so many people come into town. And one of the biggest complaints when we were in Scottsdale was, Alex, when you come back to Madison, you won't recognize it. There are just so many more people that have moved here that have changed you're not supposed to use character, but I think this is America. You should use whatever word you like. And that's an issue why people, when the idea of NIMBY comes up, it's not people are being bad because they're concerned about where they grew up and what they care about. It's because we grew up here. We went to school here. We love the way this New England town is. And for those of us that travel a lot, I get to travel a lot internationally and across the country, but also when I was in my career, got to travel across so many towns of Connecticut. And in my 20-something years of doing that, witnessed many towns that just changed within decades. And I was in Brantford this weekend driving along. It's almost unrecognizable to what it was when I was a kid. So people should be concerned that Madison is changing. And I would like to see by raise of hands, how many people on this board grew up in Madison?
Well, the one.
The one. So how many people grew up in a larger city?
Me? No, I did.
Okay, so how many people had septic, sewage?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So few. So Madison doesn't have septic, sewer lines. We, so and if you're familiar with what a septic tank is, and I suspect a lot of people that have moved here from the city are not, it's a concrete tank that gets buried into the ground. And when you flush, all of it goes into a tank, and then the sludge settles and there's a secondary tank, and then these pipes that just sit on gravel, and this water just trickles into your backyard. So medications, anytime you urinate a medication, anything you flush down, all the stuff that people feel like they have to have for green lawns, all the little granules that people put down to kill grubs, it all has an effect on Madison, on what essentially is a small New England town. And people moved here for that reason. And it's, I think, an undeniable fact that if you look at the growth of Connecticut from New York City, it is marching in this direction. And there are those of us who want Madison to stay a small New England town because it's worth preserving. It's part of our history.
It's worth preserving, Alex. I think the one question that you have to ask yourself is will it be preserved 10 years from now if we don't do anything about it? Because we're losing younger people, younger families. We're getting older and older people in here. Maybe they're, their houses, they're stuck in a house that they really can't find an alternative living condition. So why would it be a bad idea to have someone come in with a family and buy that house and let the senior person move into a smaller unit, which is much more comfortable and perhaps more appropriate for them?
There's a couple of reasons why. One, none of this is going to happen on the timeline that's quick enough to provide the relief for the demographic that we're talking about now. So, and Aaron is familiar with this. The process of going in front of all the commissions and actually building stuff isn't going to provide relief for someone who's 75. In 10 years, they're going to be in a totally different circumstance than they are now. The real question is, so many of these houses, and I grew up with these people, are locked into these large family homes. So the question is, and it's ironic because as a kid, neighbors asked me, like, this was a topic that has come up again and again and again over the years. It's just ironic that the large baby boomer population today is now facing where to go when they no longer want to be on a big house on Randy Drive. So I don't think there's much we can do in the near term to provide relief. The long-term picture is what happens in 5 to 10 years to all these houses where baby boomers are living. And I mean, that's the crux of it. And then I think the other thing is you have realtors who are interested in inventory because, that there's money to be made in building, certainly. But to say that the quality and character of town isn't going to change by adding density, you don't think we add more stop signs and stoplights and people are going to upgrade Joe's and all of that stuff? I mean, you just look west to those towns or Manchester that used to all be farmland and now it's just, big industry. I think, and Jen, maybe you can help out. Part of this ties into the budget where, we're building big schools and we need more people to help pay for this stuff. So there are so many political stuff. We also have a house in Hartford where, no Luke Bronin and so I follow Hartford politics. There are so many moving pieces to this discussion that we have to be sensitive to. And I don't know I was hoping some of them would come up tonight.
Alex, could I maybe just, Francine Larson. So I moved to Madison 20 years ago this year. I've spent Albany, New York, Southern California, most of my life, 30 years living in Pittsburgh. So I never lived in a small town like this. And in the 20 years that I've been here, you talk about the complexion of the town changing. And I've become exposed to the ethos of a place like Madison, where you ask the question, well, how many of you grew up here. And so almost none of us. So interestingly, though, you say, well, we don't want the town to change. But in the 20 years I've lived here, and I live on East Wharf Road, I have seen dramatic change, and it has nothing to do with affordable housing. So as house after house on Middle Beach Road gets bought, and some people have enough money to buy 2 lots, what was very charming house after house after house on Middle Beach Road, just for example, is now some houses are enormous. They're huge. And when I look at that, and I'm going to say to myself, oh my God, I'm becoming like a Madison person. Oh my God, look at that house. It looks terrible. Like they're taking up all that space, and so I hear you when you say Madison is, what I'm hearing is we want Madison to stay this small town. But I've been here for 20 years and it's changed a lot in the 20 years I've been here. And it has nothing to do with affordable housing or trying to accommodate anybody. It has to do with the people that had money to buy houses. And you know what I mean? I mean, if you follow the town. So I guess what I'm getting at is that the town will change whether the Affordable Housing Committee does something or nothing. That's just how I feel about it. You can't be static. And I think what our goal is to help it change in the way that can try and preserve what you're worried about. I mean, I don't know if this is making any sense, but it's going to change. It can't just stand still. Life changes, the world changes, and we're just trying to help it change in the best way possible.
And
the other
actually,
thing,
just
the
to,
other thing I would add is the state has mandated change.
Yeah, but yes, well, there is that. I wasn't going to go into that, but yes, there is. We do have.
And
If we don't control it, the state will. Go ahead, Eric.
That's exactly right. If we as a town do not start to set a direction, preserve what you're looking for, Alex, which is what this entire committee loves Madison, right? And wants to retain the ethos of what Madison is. But if we don't set out a direction for the town, 830G allows developers to come in and dictate to the town what will be built. And that can be a very adversarial process, and certainly not everything is going to be true, but it's costly, and we can be dictated by outside state law and developers without working in a collaborative fashion.
Right.
and Eric, I'll just add to Eric's comment and Francine's comments. The idea of the commission is to help the town be proactive instead of reactive. And we do not want to be reactive to developers who might come in here with, quite honestly, the right to build affordable housing. Because it is the state law, we want to be proactive because we do want to control it. We want to have a say in it. And that's why we're having all these meetings and we're doing all this research, because it is such an important thing. And unfortunately, because of the New York Times articles and all of the wonderful people that have been here and say what a wonderful place it is, the growth is what it is. And it's probably not going to change much. It's going to be very difficult to keep things exactly the same, but we'd like to keep them nice and we'd like to be proactive and instead of reactive.
Yeah, and that all makes absolute sense. And just to clarify, I'm an optimist and want to make things better. But keep in mind the 2% that we're at now that allows until we get 10% 830G is really a problem that we need to be addressing politically. And I think Democrat and Republicans aside both agree that 830G is not something that is working all that well. And in fact, the idea of Madison getting to 10%, as you mentioned, Bennett, is something that will never happen because, for example, we have 100 and something units being built on New Road. Tomorrow P&Z will be looking at more building. The number of housing that comes online that's not affordable way surpasses what is deemed affordable or defined as affordable. So we'll never reach that number. We offset any housing we have that's deemed affordable at every P&Z meeting. So the real question is, and it was brought up before, is what Westport did, right? Is a moratorium, and so we should be. Is that the right word?
Yes.
Where they get 4 or 5 years or something by showing in earnest that they're doing the right thing.
Yeah, but you have to demonstrate progress, Alex, in order to earn the moratorium. And it's a 4-year moratorium. We're a long way from that. We've got to take positive steps.
We're going to have to.
Apologies, I have to jump off.
Yeah, we have to wrap this up in a minute or two. But I think, Alex, we hear you, and you know, this is. I think we all on the committee recognize that this is not an easy process. It's, as a matter of fact, it's a quite difficult process, and what we hope to do is make some movement in the right direction. And unless we're going to live for the next 50 years, we are not going to succeed in getting anywhere near some of these goals. And maybe politically those will change. We don't know. But right now we have to live with what we have, and we want to manage. We know that the management you described it before. It's changed in your lifetime a lot, and I assure you that the next 30 years it will change a lot more, and you can't avoid that. And so the question is, how do you manage that? And that's one of our jobs is to see if we can find a way to make this thing work for everybody. So thank you.
Can I just say one more thing to Fran? He said he was meeting with people. If you go to, is he still there?
Fran is still here. Yeah, I think he is.
If you go to our website and you click on the little link that says past newsletters, there's 2 there. They're short. So you could print them out, and that would be easy to hand out. They'll just give a little bit of information about housing in Madison.
Right. Okay, so I want to thank Alex, John, and Fran for joining us. And we are, as I said in the beginning, we are going to be having more of these meetings. We're going to try them at different times of day. We're going to try them in different methods, whether it's Zoom or in person or a combination of both. So if you are interested in following us, go to the town website, look for the Ad Hoc Affordable Housing Committee. You'll see all the information that we have collected so far and where we're going, as well as the minutes of our meetings, if you would like to follow that, which could be also very boring. Let's thank you again, and we're going to shut off now at 7 o'clock. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for volunteering.